Hey community, Carrie Lattiser. I'm here with Ted Canaris for Behind the Message. We just wrapped up recording Making Room in Advent, week 6 of this series, right? It was awesome. Thanks so much for sharing with us.
My pleasure.
You mentioned in the beginning of this talk a phenomenon. Will you tell us, what is it called?
The Bader. I could not say it correctly. I don't know what I said in the talk, but the correct pronunciation
Tell us what
is
it is.
Baader-Meinhof.
Baader-Meinhof phenomenon. Let's practice together.
Yeah.
Baader-Meinhof phenomenon. Okay.
Yeah.
And tell us what it is, just a quick
Basically
snapshot.
what it is, it's that when you are introduced to something new or something special or important to you, you begin to notice it more than you did before it had like a special place in your life. So in the talk, we talk about getting something new, and then you start seeing that new thing everywhere, right? Because you probably saw it a bunch before, you just didn't notice it. And so that's the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon. Yeah.
Yes. I'm sure many of us have had that experience in life, but to know like that's a real thing feels really validating of those experiences.
It's true.
I have learned too that our kind of natural way of viewing life is like in survival or looking for the challenges or focusing on the problems or the obstacles, but that we can actually kind of rewire our brains when we are noticers of the good, like you talked about, even Richard Rohr with that line of
the
starting.
line of beholding.
Yes, the line of beholding, which I love.
Yeah.
I'm curious, whether it's as a dad or as a pastor, as a husband, like how do you practice a rhythm of being a noticer or savoring the good or even taking time to recognize it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And honestly, like savoring the good and like being able to linger there is something that I struggle with. I really have tried and continue to try to grow in that area.
Sure.
Because it's really easy for me just to move on to the next challenge.
Yes.
Because I love challenges.
Yeah,
And I love
being a
kind of the
problem
next
solver.
thing.
Yeah.
And I also am kind of a future-minded person. So it's easy for me to think about tomorrow. It's easier for me to do that than to think about yesterday.
Sure.
So that's something that I really need to grow in, and I'm trying different disciplines like journaling and things like that do help me. But without that structure, I can't do that one naturally.
Yeah.
But even with my kids, and we've joked about this before, but we, every night when we have dinner together, or the nights we do have dinner together, we go around the table and talk about, you know, what the best part of your day, the worst part of your
Highs
day.
and lows.
Yeah.
Or,
Occasionally, so Carrie's trying to get me to make fun of myself, which I'll happily do.
What are the questions you ask them?
So there was a season where instead of highs and lows around the table, I thought it would be funny, and the kids did enjoy it for a season, if we did happies, crappies, and dear pappies. And so that was my way of saying like your high, your low, and your prayer requests. So happy,
dear
crappy,
pappy.
dear pappy.
Yeah.
It's trademarked.
Yeah, I
you
was just
cannot
gonna
use
say
it.
this is like
you cannot
IP.
use it. I know
What,
you
for
all
a fee?
desperately want to use it.
Could
Yeah.
they pay you
for
for
a fee? Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you guys sit around the table though, because I think what's interesting is the hard things or the challenging things or like the tough conversations, we ruminate on those. So the idea is the good, we're supposed to spend time savoring it, like soaking it in.
Yeah.
And you guys do that around the table. You're just asking your
Yep.
boys like, what was good? What was hard, but what was good?
Yep.
And what you prayed
and
for?
talking about it, and then thanking God for it. So yeah, that's a discipline in our house that's really fruitful.
Yeah, I love that as a practice. Super cool. You also talked about something that's coming up for us as a community, and that's in January. We're going to be kicking off our 21 days of prayer and fasting. Maybe give us a little bit just about fasting as a practice for you, or ways that you have taught people to engage in that practice.
Yeah, there's so much to be said about fasting, but I think just really kind of bottom lining it, what we're doing is we're withholding from something for a spiritual purpose.
Yeah.
And so what I do, what we've done in the past as a family is withheld some form of food. That's like the way that works best for us.
Sure.
So we have done a complete fast before where we had like no solid food and just like some juices, so we had enough energy to work and survive, because fasting wasn't our full-time job. We've also done some fasts at other times where we fasted from social media or from TV or like Netflix or any kind of streaming service or something like that. But the idea isn't just to withhold from ourselves. The idea is to increase our focus on God and our dependence on Him. And that's why for me, food is a really important discipline, and fasting from food is what I mean, because it's like a constant reminder that I carry with myself, and it's like a dependence on God, because I really like food. And I eat a lot of food.
Yeah, same.
And when I don't eat, it's easy for me to be irritable or impatient. And so when I'm fasting, I'm much more dependent on God's grace, like working in me, because I can't just like fake be patient. I have to become a more patient person during seasons of fasting. And that's not something I can just do in myself. And so fasting has been such an important discipline in our lives, my wife and I, really in seeking God and in growing in our faith. And it really hasn't been up until the last probably 5-6 years that we've really started fasting in any real significant way. And these 21 days of prayer and fasting have been really huge for us in our walk with God. And so I just really want to encourage you to take a hard step. Like, pick something that you feel like is a stretch. Don't just do something that you think is going to be easy or just like a relief. You can do that, which is great. But I would also encourage you to really set something challenging for yourself. And it's okay if you mess up. Just start over and get back on and try to keep taking a next step. It'll really be fruitful for your life.
Yeah. I love that we're giving people a little bit of notice right now to even work through and process through and be prayerful about what that is. You mentioned a couple things here. Maybe it's related to media, like television, social media, just saying no to those things and filling that space with something else. I think several people last year I spoke to did what's called a Jewish fast, where they fasted during the day, you know, from sun up to sundown, and then like had one meal in the evening together.
I've done that before. It's great.
Yeah. Your health and your, you know, season of life and all those things are factors in this, but landing something that's going to be a discipline and a way to carve out space to experience God in new and fresh ways. And be confronted with our humanity in some different ways. I think that's the thing about fasting. That's so interesting for me. Okay, what would you say? Are there resources? What are we going to be providing as resources for folks on this journey?
So I mentioned this in the message, but just to say it again here, the theme throughout the community daily is going to be hearing from God. And so we're going to be journeying these 21 days of prayer and fasting together, really through the through the community daily. So make sure you're signed up for that, or if that's like an email you used to have and don't anymore, go re-sign back up for it, because that's going to be a guide through the whole journey together. We have teams already working on all of that content, and it's really, really good. And so I would strongly encourage you to sign up for the community daily so you can journey with all of us together in a real intentional way through these 21 days.
Yeah, so good. My last question, and I know you mentioned this kind of in the message, and I'm just thinking about right now, on the heels of Christmas and what people have kind of been experiencing the last couple of weeks, and even just the adrenaline and the rush, and what kind of coaching or advice or even next steps would you give people right now to focus on identifying the good, savoring the good, being aware of God's activity in their life as we kind of come down from this holiday season and step into a brand new season?
Well, I don't know that my advice would be any different in this season than it would be in any other time, but it's probably more of like the stakes are a little higher and the need for it is a little greater. I think setting aside time in your day to be at peace and intentionally connecting with God and yourself is the most important discipline as a follower of Jesus. We have to be able to start there. And so for me, that starts first thing in the morning with prayer. I do my own like little journaling exercise. I don't write a lot, but it's just more of like a check-in and then sort of praying for the upcoming day in a specific way. But whatever that looks like for you, I think creating that space to check in with yourself and God and to really be attentive in that space and to give that time your best. It doesn't have to be long, but it does need to exist. And that's so, so important, especially in a season like we're in right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing with us just your own rhythms and practices with your family and inviting us to experience God's goodness in our life.
Thank you, Carrie.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us, friends. We're excited about what's next in these weeks ahead as a community. You can head to communitychristian.info to find some of the resources that we referenced here, and we'll see you back here soon.
The Baader-Meinhof phenomenon.
Baader-Meinhof.
The Baader-Meinhof
phenomenon. No.
Meinhof.
Baader.
Like bad, but it's Baader.
Bod, but
Baader. Butter. Butter.
Second A is an A.
Butter.
Butter.
Butter. Butter. Mine.
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 Butter. Mine.
Mine. Mine. Hop.
Don't start doing stuff with your face.
What? Who, Ted?
Mine.
Mine. Hop.
I cannot.